Hello, welcome to Pinkfish Inc. I'm going to go through how to set up Pinkfish, and I really recommend that to use Pinkfish, you do it from Linux or from a Linux VM. And I actually do my own development of Pinkfish from a Linux VM. So first, I'm going to show you how to set up a Linux VM. First, you need to go to VMware and install the latest VMware player. They have an install for Windows and for Linux. And once you get that installed, you need to download a Linux distribution. And the one I've been using is Ubuntu. And whichever one you choose, you need to choose LTS. That stands for long-term support. And you should get the 64-bit version. So for example, in this case, I would click on United States, and then you would download the Ubuntu 20.04.1-desktop AMD 64 ISO. So download that. It's kind of big, 1.6 gigs, so it'll take a little while to download. And when you're done, you will launch, and you'll launch the VMware player, and then say create a new virtual machine. You'll select the ISO that you downloaded. So that is this one. Click open, click next, and then you type a password and give it a name. So you can go with the default, or like in this case, I'm going to call it Ubuntu 3-04 development. So anything you want to call it. Click next. Now you can take the defaults, or actually like to store it as a single image, and make this a little bigger. If you've got the space, make it bigger. We'll say 100 gigabytes. Next. I think everything else is okay. Click next. The install will begin. So we just wait for it to copy and go through the install. It's fairly quick, but it may take a few minutes. So while that's installing, let me point you over to the Pinkfish homepage. You should be able to find this just by Googling Pinkfish. Anyway, here's the web address. And so Pinkfish is a backtester and spreadsheet library for security analysis, completely open source. And I know there's many of these out there. I developed this because the ones that were available couldn't do the stuff I needed them to do, and they were too complicated. So I decided to write my own. Let's see how the install's going. Okay, it's still copying. You can read this. The main point of Pinkfish was that I wanted to be able to use a daily data, but do different kinds of intraday trading. Now, you can't do all sorts of intraday trading. You actually need minute or tick data for that. But there's certain things that you can do, like you can buy on the close on the same day a new 20-day high is set, for example. And most of the other backtesting libraries that were available just did not allow this sort of trading. Pinkfish does. You can do it because Pinkfish is not event driven like most of the other ones that I've come across. Event driven in the sense that it hands you the high, open, low, and close values all at once, and then you place orders against that. Well, Pinkfish doesn't work that way. Uh, you loop through and you do get those same values, but you're allowed to instantly buy or instantly sell, or both. You can buy, you can instantly buy, and then you can instantly sell. Instantly, in the sense that you want to buy on the open or buy at a certain other time of the day, you can do it, and then you can sell on the close, for example. With the other libraries, that wasn't possible because you had to get your data and then place the order, and the earliest it would be executed would be the next day. Uh, that may have changed since I wrote Pinkfish, but that was the situation when I started writing Pinkfish 5 years ago. So Pinkfish is pretty lightweight and to the point, as one uh, user commented. It just reuses a lot of the stuff that's already out there, like pandas and matplotlib and talib. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel when those things work so good. Let's see how the installation is going now. Ooh, still copying files, so we'll let that continue. Once that's done, I'll probably make a second video to go through the actual installation of Pinkfish. I have the instructions here for doing this on Linux or Linux VM, but you should also be able to make it work on Windows or Mac OS if you want to go that route. I don't provide the instructions for doing it there, but I know that some people have got it to work. It might be easier to install Anaconda first. That gives you Jupyter Notebook, which Pinkfish really uses heavily. Looks like we're getting closer to being done with this install. And you can find Pinkfish on GitHub. From here, just click this top link, and you click on that, and it'll carry to here. And there's the code, and it's all open source. I'm using an MIT license, so use it any way you want. You can clone it, you can change it, you could put it on in a commercial product if you want. I've really developed it, honestly, for my own purposes, but there's no reason not to share it. That's put a lot of work into it. I use it for my own analysis for trading stocks and futures, ETFs mostly. I'm not giving away my secret algorithms, of course, but I'll give away the tools that build them. That's not a problem. And we're getting closer to being done. I'll go over this in a separate video. The main thing on this video is just getting the VM installed. And as you can see, it's not very hard to do. You just do a little bit of clicking and then you have to wait for the install. This Xubuntu is a lightweight version of Ubuntu. It uses a window manager called XFCE. It's pretty bare bone window manager. It's not super flashy, but it gets the job done, and it's fast even on if you have a little bit slower hardware. It will run fast on it. I've seen it actually run on embedded systems that have very constrained resources. So we're just continuing to wait for this to be done. Still installing. Let me return to this idea for a minute of the LTS. The reason that you want an LTS, a long-term support image, is because Ubuntu will continue to supply updates to your image on into the future. If you get an LTS version, they'll support it for 3 or 4 years. If you get, so in this case, it's always the 04, which this is actually the year it was released, so 2020, and this is April of that year. And they'll support this until, excuse me, they have the end of life of April 29th, 2023. It'll be under support until that point, and then it goes into end of life. If you install a newer version, for example, 20.10 Groovy Gorilla, that one's not going to be supported for near as long, maybe a year, perhaps. But I always install the LTS. And so the LTS, they come out with a new one every 2 years. So in the next one will be 2204. And that would be a good time to move to that LTS. In the meantime, I always install the 2004. And before that, it was the 1804 and 1604 and so forth. So now we have reached this point, and we just log in. Okay. The first login takes a little bit longer because it's setting stuff up for the first time. Now, you can see that we've got this tiny little window here. To make it, ooh, here we go. It went big screen, okay. Okay, so it looks like it automatically installed the VMware tools. Without the VMware tools, there are a lot of things aren't going to work quite right. But with the VM tools, it looks like it automatically got installed because there's a grayed out menu item here that says reinstall VMware tools. So here we are. We're up in Linux, and there might be a couple of tweaks you want to do. Like, I like to make this menu right here a little bit bigger. So let's go to panel preferences, and we can make this larger. So I pumped this up to about 30. Okay, something like that. It's hard to get it right on 30. What the heck? Okay, 31 will do. Okay, so got that one set to 30. And also, I use the console a lot, so I go ahead and add it to either the desktop or the panel. And it puts it way over here. It's kind of annoying. So I'll move this over here. Okay, and I also use the file system a lot. So I usually bring that one over too. So add to panel. Okay, and let's move it over as well. Okay, and then lastly, the other thing that I use a whole lot is the web browser. Go to the internet. No, that's not it. Firefox, and add to panel. And we'll move it over as well. Okay, let's move it over here. Okay, we got those here now. Another thing that I really like to do, panel, add new item, is trying to find it. Show desktop, hide all, that one's useful. Hide all desktop, I'm gonna whisper menu. workplace switcher. Okay, I want to add that, and you're going to see what that does. Okay, that's settings, and I want to have 4, actually 2 is probably enough. So 2 workspaces. So what's cool about this is, for example, we got a console window here and switch over here, and see it's gone. And that's because basically you're doubling your screen real estate by doing this. You can send this one over to workspace 2. So here's your console here on workspace 1, and there's the browser on workspace 2. Okay, so that's about it. There's some other tweaks you might want to do. Its text is very small, and I gotten older and I can't really deal with this tiny stuff anymore. So I usually pump this up to maybe 14. Okay, now that's a lot more manageable for me. And so I think we'll stop here. And yeah, okay. And then in the next video, I'll show you how to install Pinkfish.